right. Hey guys, and welcome to the Nouveau Riche Podcast. So today, my man Andy Carter, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, doing very well. Thanks for having me.
I love that. I want to get into your story. How did it all got started for you?
Sure. It is a long story. So I'm 42 years old, and I basically started working when I was 12.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've done it all. I was raised really, really poor, raised by a single mom. It was me and my brother. We basically lived out of a cooler in, a little teeny tiny apartment. And I learned from a very young age that it was either going to be up to me to make it happen, or that was pretty much it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was great because I got to grow up really fast. And I just knew from a really young age, I was for sure going to be working really hard. I was a terrible student, D's and F's.
Mm-hmm.
All I cared about was basically sports and work. And that's exactly what I did. And I've owned a lot of different businesses, a lot of different companies, bought and sold. I was in the restaurant business for a long time. I still own a bar and restaurant here in Long Beach.
Cool. Yeah.
I was one of the youngest wine sommeliers in the country at 21, and did a lot with that and traveled the world, and came back and was completely burnt out on life when I was 30 years old. So I took a year and a half off, and I started teaching yoga, started racing triathlons, and got really healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And I found real estate because I was broke. I was really happy and really healthy, but broke as shit. So I had to do something else, and fell in love with real estate. And I jumped in with both feet in 2008 when everybody was running out. And I'm really glad I did. I was able to buy a lot of property and a lot of buildings and just watch them go up. And now I'm trying to help as many people as I can.
That's crazy. Yeah, cool. Why is it entrepreneurship for you? Why not just whatever everyone in your surroundings were doing?
Yeah, it's hard for me to work for somebody, which is super interesting because I'm extremely coachable and I learn really fast, but I don't like to have to answer to a lot of different people. So it just doesn't really work well for my personality. I was in the corporate world for about 3.5 years, and I went from zero to through the roof. I was one of the youngest executives, but I just hated the way that there was all these different layers of people that were in charge.
Yeah, right.
I like to work for myself because that way there is no ceiling. I can make as little or as much as I want. And I was making these companies millions. And I just decided, that wasn't really for me anymore. And I liked how it felt to work for myself. And I don't really give a shit about anybody else. So if you like to work for somebody else, good for you. We all need employees. I have a ton of them.
Cool. Yeah, that's great. For you, it was real estate. Why? How did you were I want to do that? How do you find your purpose in some kind of way? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So for me, it was kind of by accident and kind of on purpose. So I was really happy with this lifestyle that I created, and I really liked the freedom of it. So I could train whenever I wanted, I could kind of eat whenever I wanted. I wasn't on any kind of super crazy set schedule, and I liked the way that felt. So for me, there was a friend of mine that was actually living at my house because I was trying to figure out how to pay the mortgage. So I had to bring people in because I wasn't working. And he was actually a very successful real estate investor. He moved into my house because his house burnt down. So he moved in for a short period of time, and he's like, why don't you get into real estate? You're a really smart guy. You've built shit tons of companies and sales teams, and you'd be really good at real estate. You should give it a shot. I was like, all right, I'll give it a whirl. And I went and got my license, and there was a small firm that he actually used to own. And I went there and worked there for free and really learned the business. And within 6 months, I was making $50,000, $60,000 a month and never looked back.
Great. Yeah, that's cool. I see that. I ask that because I see a lot of guys around me, and myself included, actually. There are so many things you can do, like drop shipping, e-commerce, blah, blah, blah. I don't know what I really got to do. So it's cool. You find your purpose in that way. Yeah, that's great.
Well, yeah, there's unlimited things to do now. Like
Hmm.
that's the beauty of this whole thing that we're doing right now.
Hmm.
You can do business all over the world
Right.
from your house.
That's a cool
Like
thing. Yeah.
in the history of the world, that's never happened.
Hmm.
So there's just, and you should do a lot of stuff. I love doing new stuff. That's why I love to start new companies because I get bored.
Hmm.
So I mean, like the kiss of death for me would be find a job, work there for 30 years and retire. Like
Gotcha.
it sounds awful.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. So in your businesses, in your the things you created, what do you think is important to be to set it up to be a good leader for the people below you?
Yeah, well, that's everything. So I lead by example.
Hmm.
There's nothing that I ask anybody to do that I haven't done myself.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
And I lead from the front,
Hmm.
and I lead from the back, and I lead from the middle. But a big part of the stuff that I do is for my children. Like I have two
Hmm.
small kids, 6 and 4,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to lead by example for them so
Hmm.
they can see exactly what it looks like to build and grow and scale companies the right way. Like you
Hmm.
don't have to be an asshole. You don't have to crush everybody around you. You can lift them up with you. And for
Right.
me, it's really important to lead by example.
Right. Yeah, that's cool. There's this quote like, act like there's a camera on your ass the whole time for your grandchildren to see how you live, something like that. Yeah, that's cool.
Right. And that's exactly what I do now. I have
Mhm.
cameras on me all day. There's a guy right over there. There's another guy in the other room doing a bunch of editing, and the camera's on me every day for
Right.
3 years now.
Yeah,
So
that's
that's how it is. Like everything I say is on record for the rest of my life.
cool. That's the kind of the danger of this space, but yeah, it's cool.
Yep. That's the power of it too,
Hmm.
because my great grandkids I can watch this.
Hmm. True. Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it.
Hmm. Great. Yeah. So like in your businesses, what do you look for in employees for people that are in that position? How do you be a good employee? How do you be coachable? How do you crush it yeah, as an employee in the job?
Yeah, you're starting to come in and out just a little bit. So I missed that last part.
No, I was asking like for the people who are in a job and you as a leader, of course, what do you take on your business? What do you need to have as an employee?
You have to have a very specific mindset that you want to work and grow and learn with that company.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just have those things, you'll be very successful. And then at some point, you'll go to somewhere else, or at some point, you'll start your own business. But if you're not willing to just like shut your mouth and work your face off and learn from somebody who's already done it, you're going to have a long road. So, and that's what I've always done. I've always sat there and listened and learned from people that are smarter than me that are where I want to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And I ask a lot of questions.
right. I see that. Yeah, with people who have mentors, like it's so important to listen, to shut your mouth, to look at how it happens. Yeah, that's cool. That's
You have to be coachable. You have to know when to
great. Mm-hmm.
talk, and you have to know when to shut up and listen. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why I love mentorship. I've had mentors for 20 plus years, and
Mm-hmm.
I pay an enormous amount of money for my mentors, and they're in their 70s and 80s, and they're a wealth of knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Great. Yeah, that's cool. When do you mentor someone? When do you or like that guy's cool. He has something. And when do you yeah feel that vibe? Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, there's a lot of people that I mentor, and there's
Great.
there's like basically 3 different levels of how we mentor here.
Mm-hmm.
But it's important to me. It's really important to hold people accountable. It's really important for me to be blatantly honest with them. And there's people I'll tell them straight to their face, I don't think you have what it takes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
Not
cool.
yet. You're probably 2, 3, 4 years away. But if you do this, and this, I think you might have a chance. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't bullshit you. Like, here's what you need to work on. And if you're willing to do this and you're willing to sacrifice, here's what you're going to have.
Yeah, right.
Hard work. Nobody wants to do the hard work.
Mm-hmm. True. Yeah. That's great. So from the yeah, I want to keep it on the business level because I love that.
Sure.
From the businesses, of course, you had failures along the way. Everyone has their failures. What is like the top three or your biggest like lesson you've got from like something beginner. Let's say I'm starting a business in a year. I'm gonna bump into into something. What's the thing I need to look out for? That way.
Sure. You need to look out for payroll taxes, insurance. It all depends on where you are in the world, but you want to really pay attention to your numbers, to your math. Right. So many people get so fired up in the sales. They're like, oh, I sold 60 grand this month. Okay, great. What's your overhead? What were the costs? What are your taxes? Like, so many people look at the gross and not the net number, and it gets a lot of small businesses in trouble because they're like, I'm killing it. And sometimes they're actually losing money when they're doing 60K in sales a month because their overhead is too high. Right. A lot of people, they want to grow too fast. They want the fancy office. They want the fancy car. They want the road, like they want all the stuff. When if you just be patient, the stuff will come basically for free. And you're not wasting money to try to pretend you're where you're at when you're not really there yet.
That's great. Yeah, that's cool.
And there's failures a part of it. I fail my face off all the time. I fail every day. Every single day I am screwing up somewhere.
Cool. Yeah, I love that. I want to get into real estate, into investing, because you're the big man on it. I love that. When should you start in it? When should you start investing in, let it be real estate, whatever? When are you at the level you're like, hey, I need to get into this?
You want to start, in my opinion, when you're 18, when you're legally, as soon as you can buy real estate, you should be buying real estate legally under your name or some kind of corporation that you create.
Yeah.
But what you want to do first is you want to educate yourself. There's a lot of 14, 15, and 16-year-olds that I'm mentoring like crazy. So when they hit the market at 18, 19, and 20 years old, they already have 6 years experience. By the time they're my age, they'll have hundreds of millions. But it's a choice. Like, most people don't just go from high school to college to real estate. They get into real estate as a second or third career. And they don't look at it from a point you're an investor as soon as you're 18. There's a lot of young men and young women all over the world that reach out to me from all these other countries that are, again, 15, 16 years old that want to know about U.S. real estate and how to invest in it. So they're getting prepared for when they're old enough to hopefully come here and buy or work and save and then buy.
Great. Yeah. What's like a financial level? What do you say? Like 100K, 500? What do you think is a good start point?
I mean, you could start with 10 grand. You could start with 3 grand. It just depends on where you are in the country. You can put $3,000 down on a $45,000 duplex in Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah.
That'll cash flow $300 to $400 a month for the rest of your life.
Seriously. I love that.
I do too. And that's what I try to teach people. I'm like, don't buy a condo, don't buy a house. Your first purchase in real estate should be a duplex, triplex, or fourplex.
Yeah, that was my next question. Yeah.
That's right. So you use 3.5% financing, which is in this country. And so on a $700,000 fourplex, it's $24,000. So you can save $24,000 in 5 years if you really try. And now let's say you're 18. So on your 23rd birthday, when you're still young as shit, you take your $24,000, you put it down, you live in one of the units, you rent out the rest of the building to cover the whole mortgage, taxes, and expenses. So now you're living for free, and your tenants are paying off your asset.
That's crazy.
And when you live for free, trust me, you sleep different, you make different decisions, and it's just a way to hedge the market. Because, right? So like, let's say that you work for a startup, or you're trying to build this hustle, or you have a branding company you want to roll out, or you have these huge dreams of being these like your Ferraris and Lambos and e-commerce and all these kids I coach and mentor. If your biggest expense is already paid for and that business fails, you're okay. You still have a hard asset to protect you. You don't have to go move back to mom's basement and try to figure it out.
Mm-hmm. That's great. What
And you
like
can do it alone.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm. What's like a step in that for the like skeptical people? Like I'm working, I'm making $2,500 a month. What do? I skilled it up, I saved it up, and then I started. What do I like my 3-step process in the
Sure.
so that
All right. So the first step is to save. The second step is to convert your mind that it's possible. And
mm-hmm,
the third step is to get wildly educated. In 2019, do you know how easy it is to go to YouTube and there's podcasts, there's books, audiobooks. There's so much free information out there. It's obnoxious.
mm-hmm,
Like, you don't have to believe me. You can go down to your local bank and ask them,
mm-hmm,
hey, there's this lunatic online. His name's Andy Dane Carter. He told me there's this thing where I can come in here and get a loan to buy like a duplex or triplex,
mm-hmm.
and I can only put down 3.5%. Is that true? And they'll
Mm-hmm.
tell you straight to your face, absolutely. No one talks about it.
The world we live in, it's super crazy.
It's insane.
The opportunities, yeah, it's awesome. What are some mistakes to look out for? Some starter things when you start in this.
Sure, shysters. The biggest problem that I see today is all of these gurus on the internet, all these people on fucking Facebook and Instagram and YouTube that are like, come buy my course.
Mm-hmm.
And they haven't done anything yet. They took a seminar somewhere, they took the material, they changed the logos, and now they're trying to sell you a course and like how to wholesale real estate.
Mm-hmm.
You need to vet the person. The first course I ever launched in the history of my career was like 6 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing this for 10 years and made millions and millions and continue to do so. I'm trying to help people and giving it back.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure studying is really important, because you get yourself in a pickle because someone will tell you some bullshit about, hey, you can, here's what you can do, and you don't have to use your own money, and you're going to make $9,000 or $10,000 a month, and it's a piece of cake. Look at my computer screen. Look how much money I made this month. A 12-year-old can create that and then video it. So
that's crazy.
Do your due diligence.
I love that. All right. So my next thing I want to ask you, like 2008, 2009, 2010 is a good couple of years away. When do you think something like that will occur? Because prices will fall down, will have influence, big chances for everyone. I think that's what I heard.
I agree. So the signs are already here. I don't think it's going to be as big as 2008 and 9. It's definitely going to be massive, but it's not going to be quite to that scale. Like the smart people and the smart money around the world are saying somewhere around halfway through 2020. It could happen tomorrow. We have got all kinds of global shit going on, with everything with Trump and Iran and China and Mexico and tariffs and all these different trade wars. Like it takes one bad thing to collapse everything. But the stock market has been basically going up for 2 straight years.
Yeah.
That's not sustainable. This is the second largest growth cycle in our country's history. That's not sustainable. Everything is being held together by cotton candy and bubble gum. It's not. It's impossible for us to continue at this growth rate. And there's the signs. You have $1.9 trillion in student debt. You have, 9 million people just in the US are more than 90 days behind on their car payments.
Yeah.
You have an entire generation that has credit card debt, student debt, leased cars, and are renting. There's at some point there needs to be a shift. And then prices keep going up, rents keep going up. It's just, and here's the thing, everything's going up, but wages have stayed the same.
Also that's true.
Right? So everybody's making the same, but everything costs more.
That's a thing, yeah. And the baby boomer thing, everyone retiring and shit, yeah. It's interesting.
It's fun. Like, I don't care. I don't care if the market's going up. I don't care if the market's going down. I just need to know how to play it. I just need to know the rules. So for me, there's massive opportunity in all markets. And if you speak the full language of business and you speak the full language of real estate, you don't really care. I can't wait for the collapse.
Mm. What's your plan? Like when this happens, like tomorrow it hits, what do you do? Like,
I'm going to raise 20 times as much as I raised in 2009, 10, 11, and 12. And I'm going to go all in like I've never gone all in on anything in my life. I'm going to buy as many buildings as I can because I know it's going to go back up. So I'm going to buy everything at a massive discount, and I'm going to giggle my face off as it goes back up, in 2024, 5, 6, and 7. And I'm still in my 40s, and I just made a couple $100 million.
Love it how you say that, yeah. Crazy. Cool, man. The personal brand thing, that's also a thing. You're at 200K on Instagram, growing like crazy on all your platforms. Why do you do that? Why is that something you're in?
Sure. So it's actually twofold. And like the first, which is the most important for me, it's literally, so if I get hit by a car today, my kids will know exactly who I am.
Right.
They know exactly how much I love to help people. They know I'm extremely passionate about everything I do, because before that, they wouldn't have known anything because there wasn't anything of me. Right. And then the second part is I've made more deals through real estate, and I've made more connections and scaled my network over the past 3 years because of social media like I could have never imagined. I literally have people send me deals that are not on market to my DM and Instagram.
Right. Just
people I don't know. My personal brand is off the charts because I focus on it. I pay attention to it. It's part of my business. And in turn, I get the business comes back.
Great. Yeah. What did you find like working in that? When did it start to pick off? When did it start to explode?
My podcast was a big shift for me.
Yeah.
I was already doing pretty well on YouTube, pretty well on Instagram, pretty well on Facebook, and was doing well. And I was speaking all over the country, and that was all going great.
Yeah.
And my podcast was doing good. And then it exploded about a year ago. And then we rolled out the second show where I was sitting down, like some of the top people in the world, like in their fields. And it just changed the game for me, because I was around those people, and then we became friends.
Right. Yeah. That's with that, with the public speaking and the thing. It goes back to business, of course. How do you overcome those fears? Because I'm getting a little gigs here and there, and I'm starting to do my things. It's fucking scary. If it's good, it's scary. But how do you overcome that? It's just doing it, or what has worked for you in that?
Yeah. So for me, it was just either you're going to do it or you're not. So if you're not going to do it, you're always going to wonder what would have happened if you did.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Right. And so if I do it and I suck and I fail, so what? At least I tried.
Yeah.
Now I know I suck at it, so I'm not going to do it. But then I won't have the regret. And it is scary. And I stuttered really bad as a kid. I was petrified of the camera when it first started. And it was hard. But there was so much upside, I just did it anyways. And it's so funny to go back and watch some of like my first videos on YouTube. They're painful to watch. I wasn't comfortable, and I wasn't really me. I was like 60% me, and you could tell. So, and now I could film like a full-blown commercial right now. Just hit play.
Great. Yeah, that's cool. That goes back to business, like negotiating deals and then talking to your team and whatever. It's the same process. It's just doing it and figuring it out. Yeah.
Right. So here's like the secret is if you get really good at speaking, you get really good at podcasting, you get really good at communicating your message, you'll be very clear in communicating your message to your employees when you're trying to get them to do something. You'll be very clear in communicating your message when you're trying to negotiate a big deal. You become a better communicator. When you can become a better communicator, you'll make more money.
True. That. Yeah.
Period. The end.
Mm, that's awesome. Yeah, that's great. Love it, man. The book. Yeah, I read it like I started this morning. I saw it. I love it. When are you ready to write that? Because you talked about it with the course. Like I started it 6 months ago, because then I feel comfortable doing it. Is it true with the book? Because I have some knowledge. Of course, I don't know shit. But when you started that, because I feel like you're developing. You never stop developing. How do you
Mhm.
make that line for yourself?
Sure. So for me, it was really important for me to get out all this information to help people. I
Mm-hmm.
had all this information in my brain, but here's the other story that I was telling myself. I'm a terrible writer.
Yeah.
Terrible. I spell like I'm in second grade. I got really bad grades. I'm an awful writer. So I told myself I could never write a book.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't. And then I discovered this little app and this software called Rev. So I could speak the book into my cell phone, hit send, and the entire stuff and like the entire file that's audio is transcribed.
Mm-hmm.
So the book that you're reading right now, I spoke into my phone for 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
And then I sent the files to my publisher and
Yeah.
they edited it. So I could do a book a week now if I wanted to. I'll just sit there and talk into my phone. So we have 2 books. The newest one was just released. It's called 3 Series.
Mm-hmm.
It's this little book. It's the 3 different pillars. It's free on my website. So if you go to my website, most of the stuff is free. Most of my content is 99% of my content is free. I give everything away that I charge for free.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to go get it. You have to go find it. You got to put in the time. You got to find where it's at. So I try to give everything out for free because, again, I was raised really poor. Yeah. And if my message and the stuff that I help and teach can just help one person, it's all worth it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. No, yeah, like the thing I was really wondering, like how do you say that? The point you're like, I'm going out, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna say it. Because like I said, the developing part, like if I look back at myself like 6 months ago, I'm shitty. And when 6 months ahead, I look back to right now, it's gonna be shitty. When do you find that for yourself? Like, all right, now I'm ready. Or it's just doing it and
you're never really ready and you're never really done.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, I'm addicted to the growth and the expansion of myself. Mm-hmm. Like it's just me against me from yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So that. I'm just trying to be the best version of myself every single day. I try to get a little better every day. There is no finish line. Mm-hmm. I have huge goals and huge targets, and I live my life in 90-day chunks. Mm-hmm. So every 90 days, I start a new challenge.
Cool. That's cool.
And that's the way I can speed up the growth.
Mm-hmm. That's a cool thing. Interesting. All right. Yeah, let's few things. I value your time. The networking part of all of this. Where do you find your business partners? The people you do business with, the people in your team. How do you determine that for yourself?
Sure. So the past probably 2 years, they've been finding me. Mm-hmm. So like we have a whole bunch of agents that work for us. They find me through social media, deals and syndications for real estate. They find me. Mm-hmm. A huge part of that is my podcast, and a huge part of that is Instagram. Mm-hmm. We've done a lot with that. And before that, I would find I would find everybody through like just my network and me doing the right things over and over again. And people are like, you should call Andy. You should call Andy. You should call Andy.
Just positioning yourself as the expert, and that's great. That's cool.
Yeah. And doing the right thing. Like there's a lot of experts out there that suck. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of experts out there that are selfish. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of experts out there that want to get paid first before they're investors. So for me, I just over deliver value. So you have no choice but not to like you're going to like me because I'm going to make you money. It's going to be an easy process, and you're going to trust me in the process.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, great. All right. So going back to that, like going back to the business and the investing thing and all of that. Kids coming out of high school right now. I'm done in a year. I know my buddies. What would you do if you were in that position?
Sure. So here's a perfect story. So there was a kid that knocked on my door at my house that was selling, he was selling like a pest control service monthly. Where
Mm-hmm.
like, so like they just kind of come and spray your house, for spiders or whatever. He's a nice kid. He was a hustler. And I literally gave him my book.
Mm-hmm.
Went back to Arizona, read the book, got all fired up, fell in love with real estate, wanted to become an investor. He just passed, this was probably about a year and a half ago, because he was just finishing up high school.
Yeah.
He just passed his test. He's going to be a licensed real estate agent in the state of Arizona. He got 6 of his buddies to do the same. And now they have a real estate company that I'm going to help them grow and scale.
Yeah, crazy.
All because he knocked on my door to sell me some shit. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really smart for everybody to have their real estate license, even if you only use it once.
Mm-hmm. Just, yeah, cool. Yeah, great. When the kid we're talking about, when he starts to make his money and starts to scale it, when do you think it's okay to start spending that on bullshit things? Because, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. You can buy whatever you want when you don't need the money anymore.
That's it. When
That's
you're
it.
when you're at that level, when do you know that's the thing?
Right. Or you put a plan together. Like, it's okay to want a Lamborghini,
Mm-hmm.
and you can have that. Here's the secret no one tells you. When you buy a Lamborghini, it loses like $30,000 in value every year
Mm-hmm.
until it's worth like 40 to 60 grand.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you could take that same amount of money, buy an income property that's producing income,
Mm-hmm.
and it could be a 4-unit building. It doesn't have to be a huge building. And then that building is kicking you off $2,000 to $3,000 a month in cash flow.
Yeah.
So the tenants are paying for everything, and you're making $3,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
That $3,000 is your Lamborghini payment. So now your tenants just bought you a Lamborghini,
Mm-hmm.
and they're paying for you every single month. Like, that's what I tell people. I'm like, if I want a Ferrari, which I don't, but if I did,
Mm-hmm.
I would go buy a building. I would find out what my monthly payment was for the Ferrari and insurance, and I would make sure that that asset covered this car.
Yeah,
And it's going to be free.
Mm-hmm. I think about
And my
it.
money's still protected in the hard piece of real estate. You can buy as many watches as you want. You can
Mm-hmm.
buy whatever you want. You just have to know that. So if I buy a $200,000 car and a couple $10,000, $20,000 watches, is that going to make me whole inside? Or is being financially secure going to make me whole inside? And when you get really honest with yourself, the truth is the shiny shit doesn't matter. And the older you get, the less it matters. When you're wealthy, like really wealthy,
Mm-hmm.
you don't care about that shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true.
Because here's what you do. You go and rent one for $1,000 for the day, and you drive that thing around like a madman. And then you drive it back to the place where you rent it from. You're like, cool, now it's out of my system, and it cost me $1,000.
Yeah, it's great. These are the kind of interviews I love. The value you're delivering, I love it, man. Awesome. Last few things. I'll wrap it up. The gym. I see a lot in sports in the gym. You're still doing that. Has that helped your business? Like being fitter, being more confident? Is that something you see back in your financial thing?
Sure. So it's the most important thing I do. So I literally think about business last. So the first thing I do in the morning is I get my head right.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as I wake up, I do a 5-minute meditation,
Mm-hmm.
and then I sit in gratitude for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I just sit there and I think about things I'm grateful for, because that sets my state of mind for the day.
Yeah, it's great.
And then I play with my kids, and then I make my kids breakfast, right? And then I work out, and then I eat something really clean, and then I think about business. So first it's my mental health, my spiritual practice, my physical body, my physical health, my family, and then business. So if I'm not physically strong, I'm not at my best potential for business. I get all my energy from the day from those things in the morning. When I miss one, I'm less. I'm like 20% less, 30% less. If I don't work out, I'm 50% less productive. I've tracked it for years. And I know my energy, my drive, my passion comes from being physically charged in the morning.
Mm-hmm. How do you develop that discipline to do the shit you tell yourself to do?
I don't give myself an out.
Mm.
They're called my non-negotiables for a reason. They're not negotiable. I
Yeah.
do them when I don't want to. I did not want to work out today. And I worked out so hard, I literally almost threw up at the gym. And I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it when I was there. I didn't want to do it before. And I sure as hell didn't want to do it after because I was tired. But I do it anyways. The most successful people in the world have this ability to do the shit they don't want to do on the days they don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm. That's the key. That's the thing.
That's it.
It's crazy. Yeah.
There's stuff I don't want to do every day. Tons of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I know if I don't do it, I'm slowly giving myself permission to fail or to not give myself the best shot possible. There's a famous quote by I think it's Jerry Rice, the football player. He said, "Why wouldn't you give 100% if 100% you're responsible for it?"
Mm-hmm.
So like, why wouldn't you try as hard as you could? It's all up to you.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Like,
yeah.
no one's going to come save you. You could pay $100,000 to some mentor. All they're going to do is give you really good information. What you do with it is totally up to you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah, it's crazy. What are some books or courses or whatever that helped you develop your mind, develop your real estate business, develop your your leadership, everything?
Sure. So I love books. I'm a terrible reader. I read really slow, so I listen to a lot of books. That's why I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Yeah.
For real estate, Rich Dad, Poor Dad is one of the greatest books to start with because it really starts to change your mindset around what's possible.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so the book that I wrote called 100 Doors, that's the follow-up book for Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Because I took all the principles from that book and applied them to my life, and they worked really well. So I wrote the book. I like so many authors, incredible people. I like listening to podcasts. I like Ed Milet. I like Andy Frisella. I like Tom Bilyeu and the Impact Theory. I like Dan Fleischman, and these are all friends of mine. They all have good books. David Meltzer. It just depends on what you're really trying to get into. But that's why podcasting is so cool, because it's free. You can literally go to iTunes or Spreaker or Spotify or SoundCloud and type in real estate, and there's shit tons of podcasts. Now, some suck, but you'll start to see which ones are really good, and you can get a ton of information for free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just getting as much information out there, filtering it. Cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's it. That's what I have for you. Thank you so much.
Perfect, my friend.
No, seriously, I loved it. The value that you delivered, you taking the time. I know you're busy as fuck. I love it, man. Thank you so much for doing this.
Absolutely, my man. Well, thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Where can the people find you?
Yeah, it's really just my name. AndyDaneCarter, Andy Dane Carter, at all the handles and platforms. Mm-hmm. And if you go to my website, which is just myname.com, there's everything there. There's courses, but there's free books. My YouTube channel is on Apple TV. It's on Roku and Amazon, and I'm really easy to find.
Love it, man. Hey, thanks again so much, and I'll speak to you soon.
100%. Thanks, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.